We're joined with James Tworek from Element79 at the Commodities Global Expo. James, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, Steve. Appreciate being here.
So we're sitting here, gold's hitting all-time highs, going into a Friday close, which usually means bad stuff's going to happen on the weekend. Haven't seen too much of that this weekend, thankfully. James, you are taking the time to come all the way down to Florida to talk about your junior mining gold company. I assume you're a huge gold bull. Tell me why you're bullish on gold.
I've always been a gold bull. Been stacking both silver and gold since I was in my 20s. And I just believe that it's a great counterpoint to any kind of, let's just say, economic shifts that are happening. Whether that's driven by a war or central governments changing. Right now you're hearing a lot about BRICS, causing, number one, a lot of central governments to stockpile to have a nice big counterweight to back, to offset, to back their currencies, right? So anyways, bottom line is that, with that increased demand and limited supply, you're seeing both gold and silver shoot upwards, which is fantastic to be in the gold mining world right now, especially with a near-term producing story like we have.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Element79. What's the high-level overview of the company?
Element79 was designed right from its get-go on ensuring that the company could generate recurring revenue, at least as a baseline, while understanding that the standard model of resource development is absolutely required. I'm a huge fan of that, but it's very difficult to do, to live and die by the ups and downs of the commodity cycles, the market swings, and it's a lot easier to live through those when you do have some baseline of cash flow. So we designed this company to acquire a near-term producer, and what we have right now is a past producing mine. It was one of the highest grade gold mines in Peru's history. It used to produce between 20 and 40,000 ounces a year at 150 tons a day. So small but mighty, high grade, talking 19 grams per ton head grade. And on top of that, we've also brought in a more near-term cash flow generating solution, which is reprocessing the tailings from when the mine was back in production. There are tailings that are sitting there just waiting to be processed with about 1.5 grams per ton. Very exciting story.
And there's a little bit of silver in there too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's gold and silver. Looking at the past production rates and what the current miners are pulling out, the artisanal miners in the region are still working this mine and have been for almost 20 years. The offset's about 70% silver, 65 to 70% silver, with a really good gold cut as well.
Yeah,
about 15-20% gold.
With the recent run in silver, it's almost worth talking more about the silver than it is in the gold.
You're absolutely right.
So let's talk about those tailings. I know that this is probably going to sound like a bit of a forward-looking statement, and I'm not trying to get you to say anything that you shouldn't be saying on camera, but can you maybe give us some sort of a ballpark of idea of like what those numbers look like behind the tailings and sort of what you would expect cash flow wise should you be able to process the tailings?
Sure. Now, what our goal with these tailings to help make this really make sense is that the tailings are sitting there. There are 4 dirt mounds of 1.3 million tons of dry stack tailings. They've only ever been flotation treated in the past. So the opportunity is to bring in a CIL plant to basically process those and extract what's left there. We're talking about 1.3 million tons of dirt and 2011 and 12 augers that were pulled by the vending party reflected approximately 1.5 grams per ton gold equivalent. And again, about 60-70% silver and the rest being gold. Now, having said that, if we're looking at processing this at approximately 200 to 350 tons a day, this is probably a 15 to 20 year program. But rough ballpark at $2,000 gold, we're probably talking about something like $2 to possibly as much as $5 million a year of baseline revenue to come from those tailings alone. And that, again, the strategy here is to make sure that we have a foothold that benefits us for pulling anything out of the mine itself. If you're building a plant to do that, of course we're going to be building a plant to deal with the front end of milling, grinding, concentrating before getting to tailings.
Okay, so so you're talking about building a plant here. You guys are an $8.5 million market cap company. How expensive is it going to be to build the plant? How much money you're going to need to raise?
So the strategy that we're pursuing here with the tailings is, number one, we're going to be pulling the augers, getting a mineral resource estimate. Again, I said estimated something like 50,000 ounces of what's in those tailings. So we're going to get new results, prove up a mineral resource estimate, and we have the exclusive rights to buy that. So number one, that shows an institutional investor what we're looking for, what we actually have. Separately, we're also looking at a process of using institutional capital, like a stream or maybe a hybrid with royalties involved to fund. We're talking about probably something like a $6 to $10 million US process, and it can be scaled. It doesn't have to be all built at once. So we can get to some cash flow and start bolting on additional capacity over time.
So you guys also have an asset in Nevada. What can you tell us about that?
That's right. We bought a whole portfolio from Waterton, and as Waterton was winding down, they were selling entire portfolios. So we had some great success with improving what was the crown jewel of that project. It was called Maverick Springs. It came with a historical resource, which we doubled through our own work, and then we sold that off for profit, cleared off the balance sheet, and we kept a project called Clover. Okay, we've been dealing other portfolio or packages of the portfolio out, and what Clover is, it's basically kind of like the small kid on the block, if I could. It's surrounded by Hecla mines that have produced in the past, like the Midas mine, the Hollister mine, and the Turquoise Hill mine, which is not owned by Hecla. But we're surrounded by giants. The geologic trend goes right through it. There are 104 drill holes on the property right now, which have some great intercepts between the 10 to 25 grams per ton range.
Over what kind of intersections are we talking?
8 to 25 meters.
Wow, okay. So that's pretty significant.
It's significant, and that's the smoke at the top of the overall geologic formation. And it's up to us when we start a drilling program early next year to start finding the sources of that.
Okay. So you guys are, I got here a 10-cent stock, give or take. What can you tell us about the share structure?
Well, right now we got about 85.5 million shares outstanding. Okay, we are completing a share for debt swap. From my perspective, a share for debt swap is in many ways similar to a capital raise because you're paying your bills with shares. A lot of those shares are going through, it'll bring us up about 93, 94 million shares outstanding. And a lot of those shares are just going to management and trusted consultants that are around with us. A lot of these guys haven't even deposited their TRS statements into their accounts. So it doesn't really affect the true free trading float. We are trading on the CSE as our principal exchange, as well as we are cross-listed on the OTC as a pink right now. We have been approved for OTCQB uplisting. In addition to, we are on the Frankfurt exchange as well.
Okay. All right. So last question for you. If I'm an investor watching or I'm started hearing about the story, I'm going, okay, seems kind of interesting. The plan is to get to some cash flow and use that to build out the business. What am I looking out for over the next 12 months in terms of news flow, what the company expects to accomplish? What am I watching for?
Fantastic question. First and foremost, we're going through the finalization of our surface rights access permit from the community in Peru. Okay, we've been working at that for a steady 18 months. We've just been approved as of October 6th. In concept, it's up to fine-tuning the final contract. We expect that to be done before the end of the year. Okay, simultaneous with that, we will have surface access in terms of being able to do the DD on the tailings, pull the augers, get some lab results, metallurgy tests, form that mineral resource estimate, as well as throughout the winter, a PEA on the actual tailings themselves. Along with that, based on current representations from institutional investors, that's what they need to be able to help us fund what we want to develop next year. Okay, the winter is a rainy season down in Peru. We can't access the mine anyways. It's a great time to do all the paperwork that we're going to be doing in terms of asking for state level permits to be able to build a plant and then start building the plant once the rainy season is over, approximately mid-year. Let's call it mid-summer of next year. We should start building, approximately 60 to 90 day build time, and then we're processing the tailings. In the meantime, there are artisanal miners producing, and there will be a contract carved out with them where they end up providing us some of the revenue they're generating because they're taking it from our mine. So ultimately, you're going to see these inflection points in terms of revenue generation. We also intend to be drilling underground in Peru, at least 1,000 meters, possibly as many as 2, to start defining how those veins expand and contract, as well as switching over to Colorado. I apologize, switching over to Nevada. Clover is what I meant to say. Looking at doing at least 1,000, possibly as many as 2,000 meters of surface level drilling to start finding some of those geologic formation feeders where the gold and silver was found, and seeing where the larger system actually is on the Clover property.
All right, well, James, thanks for hopping on here, and good luck with your meetings this week. And I think you guys got a story that's going to be certainly worth watching as we enter this upcoming gold bull market that I've been telling everybody about for the last 5 years. It feels like it's finally here, and I think stories like yours are ones that investors are going to want to have on their watch list.
Thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate the opportunity.